Okay, so coffin car continues. So yesterday I had a little bit of time and I came in here and I set up the engine and transmission mock-up. I got everything situated to where it's got to go. I already pulled the cross member for the engine out. I need to cut it and fit it, and I also dissected the frame. So we'll get a closer look at all this in a little while. I'll take the camera off. So I got everything lined up. Put the motor mounts on, put the tranny mount on. This tranny cross member actually is bigger on one side than the other. Once I got everything centered, I saw that there is a difference. I'm not sure why it's like that, but it's like that. So we'll be cutting this and getting that all into place. I cut this, however, I should have probably have braced it here, but it doesn't matter because I took a measurement before and it'll be just as good. And if I were to slide this back, if I had any doubts, I can go ahead and basically put it right back together, and it's perfect right there because this frame does taper. It tapers from the back to the front, so that's going to be just a very, very small challenge when I put it back together again, because we're going to add approximately 24 inches in between. And what that's going to do for me is give me a comfortable length to get the casket set on here. It's going to give me a little platform to where I can do one of two things. Just use the radiator, or put the fuel tank like on the original car here up front, and then the radiator. But then again, I think I'm going to put the fuel tank back here, because we have this little kick up, and we can do a lot with this. And one of the things we can do is put the fuel tank back here. But we definitely have to do something back there. I had a few ideas, but I don't think I'm going to go with those, at least not yet. I have to really think about a couple of the ideas that I had. And right now the motor's just suspended. I just threw my pry bar under here just to hold it up. So this way I don't have to keep taking it on and off and all that. So I still have to deal with the tranny. Once I have this welded in and this engine mounted, the fake engine, mounted, again I'm going to take another measurement. I'm going to finalize my cross member for the transmission and go from there. So this way we're not trying to cut and fit everything in one shot. You have to keep checking as you go so you don't make mistakes. One thing I noticed was when you do the measurements based on like a Model T frame or whatever, it puts the transmission, this rear mount, somewhere in the vicinity here between the trannies. So, and all the plans are pretty much the same that you find on the internet or through vendors or whatever. And it makes no sense. I'm not sure what size transmission would even fit in a situation like that. But and again, on this cross member too, what we're going to do, we're not going to weld that one in. We're going to use, if I can find them, I got a major mess here. I was here kind of late last night and I was just tired and didn't feel like cleaning. So we're going to use these plates. And these plates for the transmission mount are going to be bolted in to the frame. And this will allow me that if I need to work on pulling a tranny or whatever, if this is solid, you'd have to pull the whole car apart to get that tranny out. So once it's all set and we know where we're going, we'll slide these on. Well, we'll fit them first. First we'll get the holes and everything. We'll get them on and then we'll tack them. Or I might even just weld them in place, because I have no fear that it's going to go through and weld to the frame. I won't do that. So we'll get these bolted in, and then we'll get this fit. We'll get everything set up. We'll make sure that we hook the tranny back up so this way we have our plumb correct, because if it's a little twisted up or a little twisted down, it's just throwing geometry out. We do want to keep this little bit of about a I would say it's probably like a 3% pitch to the back. You always want to have a small pitch with everything, with the engine tranny combination. So once we get this all situated, cut, fitted, and in place, hanging on these mounts, then I'll weld it up right in place. Or I'll tack it, pull it out, and weld it. But I'd much rather weld it in place because it'll do two things. It'll keep it from warping because I have it in place, I have it clamped down and it can't really move. So I could do just, 1-inch welds and just keep cooling in between, or do it 1 inch here, 1 inch there, go back and forth, just dissipating my heat. So this way I don't, make the metal kind of swell or shrink or get twisted, and that becomes a whole other nightmare. So these are the brackets we're going to go in and make that removable. So I'm glad those brackets actually came with it, because you do have, those are optional actually, and it was just a better idea, so this way we can go ahead and put that in properly. Also, as you can see, I cut the front of the frame. We'll be at approximately 24 inches here, and as we splice it together with another piece of 1.5 by 3, what we're going to do is we're going to sleeve the inside with solid steel, solid carbon steel, and the plate is going to be 1 1/4 by 2 3/4. So I'm going to slide it in there with a little bit of an interference fit, tap it in. I think what I'm going to do is maybe slide it in 6 inches on each side, and then I'll do a plug weld back and front, just hold it in place, and then we'll do a butt weld. And this is not going to go anywhere. It's probably overkill doing it that way, but just the problem in the front is you got the spring, you got the suspension traveling, and you don't want it to start flexing, because it's going to be a little bit of length here. And the wheelbase is going to obviously be bigger. So we're getting there. This is going to probably be, actually it's not really going to be the hardest part of the build, but you got to keep that geometry right, otherwise you mess up here, you do the whole build, and then you'll have a lot of stuff to correct to make this thing go down the road straight, which at that point wouldn't make it worth it. It'd be worth to rip it apart and start all over again. So keeping everything straight, everything square, everything plumb, and we got to retain our camber setting here, which I believe this is going to, I want to say it's 6 degrees if I remember correctly when I set it all up. And I went by the plans. I believe it was 6 degrees, and I had to tilt that back, so this way we get the right setting. And so basically that's where we are right now. Mock-up still. We still have a lot of mock-up to do. One step at a time with the welding and the fitting. And you can't just do all this in one shot unless you're on a serious frame jig holding every little last square millimeter of this frame. So there's nothing more than just a stand that is going to allow me to keep the metal from here to here flat, and it'll give me basically a quick, easy reference to keeping it flat. But the squaring and all that is still up to me. I still have to square it, and I do have several ideas how I'm going to do that. And welding a piece from here to here before I cut. It's just one extra step that, because of what I'm doing, I really don't need. I already figured out my cross members, so if I do the cross members prior to doing this, we'll still be in good shape. But I want to get this extended first. I did order a plate, and I'm not going to see the plate for at least another week. So I don't think next week I'm even going to be able to really get anything done frame-wise. The tube, I think that's coming this week. That's fairly simple stuff. So, we're going on these little holding patterns. And, once this is done, I can kind of motor along, because I can't cut the coffin yet. I really can't do anything until all my metal shows up. And I have to order it online for the simple reason that I would have to order a fairly large quantity from the regular dealer. And I just don't... Could I use it? Yeah, probably eventually. But I have nowhere to store it. Not here, not at the shop. I'm loaded everywhere. So I had to just basically go online, order what I needed, and the plate that I actually got for in between here, I'm going to call it the stitch plate. Those plates, the 1 1/4 comes, but the 2 3/4, I can only get 3 inch without making it a big, huge custom cut and waiting 30,000 years for it. So when it gets here, I'm just going to have to get the bandsaw, take that 1/4 inch off of it, and just do a little grinding and filing to get it to where I just kind of tap it in with a rubber mallet, so I know it's actually going to become part of the frame. And again, what I'm doing is probably overkill. Adding a foot in here is probably overkill, but I need this front end I need to take the flex out of the joint that I'm creating. I'm not only creating one joint, I'm creating two joints. And are they the weakest part of the frame? Done incorrectly, yes. Done overkill? No. Am I doing overkill? I believe I am. You know, tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. I've done this before. But you need to make sure that those areas are going to be stiff. And based on stiffness, you don't want it too stiff, but the rest that has not been compromised by me cutting and doing all that, altogether, it should work out to where that frame still has some flex to it, but not enough to snap it. And again, you know, I do have suspension, so that'll take up a lot of the shock. There is suspension in the back, whereas the original car, if you look at the real Dragula, it didn't have the little kick up here and all that. The wheels were actually set forward, and it was a solid axle underneath, and you actually physically sat on top of the rear differential, which is something I'm not willing to do. Anything could go wrong, and I like my butt, and I like to keep it, so you know, I'm not going to sit on top of a rear end. However, I won't be sitting on top of the drive shaft, but it's going to be a shorty, maybe, about a 2-foot drive shaft if that. So, you know, there's always a little bit of danger there, but I'm going to plate that area so this way we have some safety. We're not just going to leave sheet metal there. I'm definitely going to plate it with at least 1/4 inch plate. 3/8 is too heavy, but I think 1/4 inch will do it, and that's a little heavy too for the amount of plating that I need, so maybe 3/16. We'll see. And I'm going to add a drive shaft loop, so if something were to happen, at least I have some retention for many reasons. Number one, for my protection. Number two, for the protection of the remainder of the vehicle also, so we're not destroying anything. So I think we'll be okay. I might be overreacting a little bit, but I do like safety. You know, I don't want to build something that's going to hurt myself or anybody else. So safety is always a concern when you're doing stuff like this. And that's about it, guys. Let's get this camera off. I'll show you some close-ups of what I did here. And it would have been cool to do this on camera, but again, I have nobody to move the camera around. And yesterday when I was doing this, running around, bending over, I was blocking half the shots, so putting it on camera was impossible. I tried, but it didn't work. It came out like crap. I did it, but it came out like crap. So, if you notice, the engine is kind of cockeyed right now, but again, it's only sitting on my pry bar. I just took it out, and here's the piece that I got to cut. And you can see I have my marks right there, and then I also have, you know, my marks here. So I'm going to take off approximately 8 inches, 8 3/4 inches on each side. And that should drop me in between the frame with a little tap, and then I'll go ahead and this one will be welded in. It'll be actually a welded part of the frame. The back mount, which is a tranny mount, is going to be mounted on the brackets I showed you, so it's removable, and if we need to work on the tranny to pull it out for any reason, we can, and it'll be easy. It won't be a nightmare. Alright, let's get this camera off and look a little bit. And guess what? Weekly disclaimer, I'm not a cameraman. Okay, so let's take a look here. And you can see the frame is tapered. Now, it's hard to see it on camera, but in reality, watch when I slide what I cut back into place. I'm doing this with one hand, so. Okay, so basically, that's exactly where it is. Well, watch when I slide it forward. You see how it's sitting on here? It's sitting on here. And when I slide it forward, no matter what you do, you know, you're starting to get a gap because the temporary frame jig is following the lines of the frame, and basically the frame is tapering. It starts at like 28 in the back, and down here we're at like 21 inches. So it's got a good taper to it. And here, let's take a look at the tranny mount. So I got my measurements here, what I did is I used the clamp as a stop on each side. So basically, you know, when you move those clamps, when you move that clamp there, that's exactly where it's got to go on the frame itself. And see, like, if you look, you'll notice that when I did that, because the motor's moved, you got to make sure this is plumb, otherwise the tranny won't sit flush, the tranny mount won't sit flush on the cross member. So that's where we're at. Everything's still solid here. This is still part of the jig, and you know, you see it really tapers a lot, and that's going to be a little bit of a challenge of when I start putting it together, because as I get down here, where's my hand? Here it is. As I get down here, I'm going to kind of run out of frame. So the goal is, as long as I can keep some of this on here to use as my substrate and something to clamp to keep me flush, I'll be okay. But if I start coming way off to here, that's going to become a problem. So, you know, I might have to come up with a solution for that. But I think we're good. I think we'll be okay. And this one here I cut and deburred already, so it's nice and clean inside and out. And we're going to slide the piece in here, slide our other piece on top, slide a piece in here, slide and slide the channel on top of both of my my joints. We'll drill a hole on each side. We'll plug weld everything into place. You know, so that'll be 2, 4, 6, 8 plug welds, and then we'll do a butt weld. And we're going to do that slowly. We're going to do a little bit of welding here. We'll move here, and we'll go back and forth, side to side. So this way we're not putting a lot of heat on one part of the frame. That's how you start warping stuff. Even though the steel is heavy, you're still going to warp it. You know, heat is heat. You know, you may not wonk it, but it'll still be out, and then the corrective measures are sometimes next to impossible. You know, or sometimes just so time consuming that it's just not worth even fixing. Throw it away and get another frame. You know, just build another frame and be done with it. So basically, didn't do much to the Chevelle. I just covered it up because I was doing some cutting. I didn't want to get all that crap all over the car. And I didn't do much to the Chevelle because even though I worked yesterday, so I ate up some time, and I also had a project yesterday that I had to go out to get completed. So I didn't spend a lot of time in here, but when I did get here, it was a little bit later, maybe around 12. I concentrated on just kind of setup and just getting the cross members into the right place, you know, in the right spot, blah, blah, blah. It took time because I went back and forth and I did a lot of measuring. And I did a lot of thinking before I cut anything. So I debated about putting a tie bar from here to there. But in all reality, I didn't need to take that extra step. So I already have my measurement here. Once my cross member goes in, it'll act as my stiffener. And I know what my measurement is from the outside to the outside, inside to inside. So, you know, would the bar have made it easier? Yes and no. It might have gotten in the way, so I didn't want to add an obstruction and counted on that obstruction and then found that, oh boy, I got to cut this out of my way. What do I do now? So it was just easier to do the measurements. You know, read your tape. Tapes don't lie, numbers don't lie. And this way, you always have the numbers to work with. Sometimes a jig is not your friend. Sometimes things get in the way. Sometimes, like I said, it could be like, oh no, I got to cut this out of my way. Now what? Now you got to start measuring. And so now you did 3 times the work. Whereas you could have just took your measurements, wrote them down, took some pictures, and actually what I do is I'll take a picture of what I'm working on and I'll print it up, so I have it on just you know, in an A4 size paper, you know, just regular standard paper. And once I get the picture, then I'll actually put my measurements in on that picture, so I have good reference. You know, your camera is your friend on your phone. It's an amazing tool. You know, it's also an amazing waste of time depending on how you use it, but it's an amazing tool for stuff like this. You take that picture, you shoot it over to your printer, get the picture, get your ruler, start making a map of what you're doing. And this way, before you cut, you could even sit there and look at those pictures and really study it and be like, okay, now I'm ready to cut. You know, there's no such thing as just grab a grinder and start cutting. That's the dumbest thing in the world. These aren't things that you just start and go as you go. That's a recipe for disaster. Sometimes it works, and sometimes depending on what you're doing, there's no other way to do it but that. But I mean, when you're doing something like this, you need to measure, you need to do the stuff the right way. You can't just ad lib and, oh, well, it's only an eighth of an inch, it's only a 16th of an inch. You got to get it right on. Otherwise, as you're driving, the car will be thrusting left or right, or it'll just be a nightmare to drive. It'll be a waste of time. It'll be a waste of your time that you spent building something that's not really the way it should be. So, I guess my buddy Henry, he's visiting again, and he's right outside. Let's go see. He's got some new toy, and he's annoying. And he doesn't talk. He just sits there like an idiot, smiling. And there's Henry. He's on a Harley Cervicar with a jockey shift. And look at this idiot. Look how happy he is. He sits there perfectly still, like he's dead. And there's the jockey shift. I guess he shifts it with his leg or something. I don't know. This guy's weird. But, there it is. It's cool. It's just like Henry. It's old. Looks a little beat up, but it runs awesome. He showed me. He kicked it once, fired right up. It's got the Cervicar box on the back. It's got the original handle on it. Let's see if it's got the original sticker. And the sticker, unfortunately, is not there. This particular box, if I'm not mistaken, was actually made by a company in Milwaukee for Harley Davidson. Harley was making their own at the time, and I believe up to, I forget the years, but somewhere around 63 to 66, I believe Harley farmed this part of it out. And so there's usually a sticker in there. I forget the name of the company, but it was a Milwaukee company. And it's considered an original Harley Davidson piece. And I see he doesn't have the bumper, so I'm sure he'll be looking for the bumper and the brackets to put on. And, overall, I think Henry did good with this one. So eventually this will be a project that we're going to do for Henry. I'll get all the metal off, and I'll shoot it over to my buddy Ed the painter, and he'll perform his magic on this stuff, and believe me, it'll be like night and day. Anyway, let's take a good look at Henry. What an idiot, sitting there smiling. Look, hasn't moved a muscle. Then again, he doesn't have any muscles. All right, let's get this back on the stand. Okay, so just a quick note. I haven't forgot about the Chevelle. Again, I still need some help with the bumpers, but everybody's busy. They can't help me. I don't want to take a chance of scratching anything. I know I got little nicks here and there, and there's no advantage to putting any more nicks here and there. So, hopefully, I don't know if we have a holiday coming up, 3-day holiday. At that point, I might be able to get it done. Yeah, I played a little bit with the interior. I'm pretty much ready to kind of put all that back on. And last week I was actually planning on doing it, but then I got a little more involved with the coffin car and just wanted to really sit down and come up with my plan. Just cutting this stuff gets a little nerve-wracking because it's like I just welded this whole thing up and now I got to cut it. But that's my own fault for changing my mind, and I was going to use a half a coffin, and it's just, I keep changing my mind, and sometimes it just, it's a plus, it's a minus, it's a blessing and a curse, but, here we are, cutting the frame now to add to it, where I could have probably just built a frame this long to begin with. Was it a mistake? No, because I had a different plan. And was it worthwhile to build a whole new frame? No. That would take forever at this stage of the game because of my time constraints. And also, I originally built this frame out of real frame jig, which I still have, but I put it into storage because I wasn't planning on basically, building another frame for quite some time. Because our next project, well, we got two projects. the next project is either going to be the Camaro, which is going to be a fairly wild build. It's going to be a lot of power in, you know, a 1-pound car. And I also have the 34 Ford Coupe. And actually there is a third project, which, again, I'm hemming and hawing on how I want to go with it. Do I just leave it alone? It's the 54 Chevy truck. So do I leave it alone? Do I just, by leaving it alone, meaning just fix it, get it to run and drive it around like that? Or, you know, or am I going to do a full, not restoration, but a full, you know, like a resto mod or whatever with it? Or, you know, I have a diesel for it. You know, I have a little 4-banger diesel that I could put in it, along with an Allison transmission. And that's all brand spanking new. You know, it's all, I should say it's all remanufactured, but new, never been used. So there's still 3 projects. I believe it's only 3. Not to mention, I got bikes in the back. I got Henry's project out there that, again, do I leave it crusty and rusty? It's not really rusty. You know, it's just a little, you know, it's loved. You know, it's been used. Amazing the way it starts on the one kick, on the ice cold. Choke it once, you just barely step on the kicker and it fires. I don't think I own any other Harley that does that. So, so basically Henry's project we got, and I have several projects in the motorcycle shop. So, you know, there's a lifetime of projects here that I'm hoping to start cramming in, and that's why when I got kind of halted on the Chevelle a little bit, because there's still things I need to do, like the headliner, which, you know, I've been procrastinating, I'm not going to lie about it. So there's still things to do here, but I'd like to get my hands on a few projects. Wish I had a little bit more room, which I'm kind of working on. And, you know, as you see, things kind of dwindle away, but then they come back because of the project I'm working on. So I need to have the stuff near me, so this way when I need it, it's there. I'm not, you know, rummaging through 10,000 places to gather it all up. I got pretty much all this stuff gathered up. It's at the end of the trailer outside. So I'm going to have to start bringing that in. And luckily, it's not huge stuff. The rear is the only big piece, but we're not ready for any of that yet. We got to get this frame in order. And it looks like we got a few weeks before this frame is actually stitched back together because of the you know, the time waiting for the parts. The tube will be here in a few days. It's the metal inside that won't be here because I didn't want to buy the big, long, gigantic piece and, you know, where do I put it? I have no more room. So I had to buy what I needed. I have to have it cut. I have to have it delivered, so that takes time. And I believe their shipping date was something like, and I paid for advance, you know, to advance me in line. There was a fee that you could do that, and I paid the fee. So I'm hoping maybe by the end of next week, mid next week, they'll at least have it cut and shipped to me. I don't know. But, you know, we could just sit and hope. But as soon as the stuff comes, you know, I'll stitch this frame back together again, and we can, at that point, you know, once we have our mock-up and everything, at that point, I have to pull the engine and training mock-up off, get the casket on there, and start figuring out what do I need to cut. Because I'm going to do minimal cuts. I don't want to take you know, the strength integrity out of there. I need to take the floor out, obviously where the engine goes. We're going to have to cut, I just want to make sure I'm still on the camera. We have to cut the top and create some kind of a scoop or something to get airflow going. So you need the bottom cut, you need the top cut, get that airflow going, because I don't want to do anything in the front. I was thinking of maybe, you know, maybe boring a couple holes in the front, just to, again, to add some airflow. And we also, in the seating area, actually this is the seating area, I keep pointing, this is the seating area. In the seating area here, I have to cut basically like the canopy on the original Dragula. But I think what I'm going to do is, I'm going to cut it, I'll create some type of windshield, because you need something to, you know, block the bugs and everything from hitting you in the face, unless I drive around with like an old gasser mask. And I'm most likely going to put a roll bar in there, again, for safety. You know, it's going to be a car I can drive on the road, so I want to make sure it's safe. You know, the Dragula was more or less a just a fun piece for the TV series and to put it on the show circuit. So they never put suspension in it. They never put a roll bar in it. They just put a canopy on it. I do like the canopy idea, and I was really trying to do that, but I've been unsuccessful in finding anybody that could build me a canopy that without it being a project, without being tremendous amount of money. And this is a fun project. I'm not looking to throw millions at this project. I want to do a nice job. I want to keep a kind of a budget, and I feel so far I'm staying on that budget. And we're just kind of wheeling around town a little bit, have a little fun with it, and not necessarily go to a show. I'm not a show kind of guy. I just don't have the time, is what it comes down to. Maybe if I retire, I'll have the time, but I'd rather take those moments that I have and come in here and create something. If I lose a day in like to a show or something like that, I always feel like, wow, I could have got so much done in that day, and look what I did. You get guilty, but it is what it is. All right, guys. So that's where we're at right now. Basically at the cutting stage and the gandering stage, and also the most famous, the waiting stage, waiting on other people to give you the product that you need. So I could have possibly been maybe a week or so ahead, but I did not want to order anything till I cut this. So I was able to divert and get an exact measurement, so this way I buy something that's close, so when I cut it, I don't have waste. That 1/4 inch that I'm going to take off won't go to waste. It'll always be something that we can do with it. So that's where we are. Anyway, if you could like and subscribe. I could barely talk today. Like and subscribe, and you can watch our adventures here and the adventures of Henry. I'm sure Henry's going to have something else going on for next week. He's just not going away. He's just here, and now he's on a bike. I don't get the guy. Just don't get him. And he never talks. I notice he never talks. He just smiles, that dumb smile. But anyway, guys, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week, and thank you for watching. Comment. Thank you.